Hello everyone. So today I'm going to record a little character animation tutorial because it's quite strange. There are a lot of tutorials already online somehow. None of them are quite holistic and work very well. So every time I'm doing this, right, I'm going through a bunch of these videos and kind of cherry picking specific aspects to create my character animation from Mixamo. It's quite strange, but I thought this is a good opportunity to actually make this a little tutorial. So as a holistic way of downloading models from and animations from Mixamo, bring them to Unity and actually make them work as simple as possible, right? Okay, let's get into this. So I'm creating a new project. All right. So first things first, let's just create a couple of folders here. Scripts and prefabs. And potentially a folder called import. And a folder inside which is called animation or animation. Okay, cool. Let's potentially download first a character from Mixamo and its corresponding animation. So let's go to Mixamo. You have to log in or create a account and log in here. So if I go to the characters tab, there's a bunch of different characters you can choose from. But I'm just gonna demonstrate it with this simple, I think it's called Xbot or something like that. Yep. And so I will download this model. It's just gonna be a FBX for Unity, T-pose, it doesn't really matter, yeah. I can download that right here. Okay. And now we have to figure out what animations we want for our model. So I'm heading over to animations. And the first thing is gonna be walk, like a normal walk forward. What could we use? Walking. I mean, walking is just fine, right? I can actually look at it over here in the window, how that actually going to look like. Okay, that's fine. All right, so that's the first thing. I'm gonna download this one. FBX 30 without skin is fine. Download. Okay, so then we need to walk backwards. Backwards. Running backwards, walking. Seems to be quite slow. Yeah, I mean, it looks a bit clumsy, but whatever, it's fine. In place, I'm gonna download this one. Without skin is set already. Download, great. The next thing we need is strafe. So we want to strafe right and left. Right, strafe, walk. Yep, that's cool, download. And then we need a left strafe. Seems fine, okay, without skin. And the last thing we need is an idle. So do like an animation when the model is doing nothing. Okay, so potentially this one maybe. Is there any movement? Maybe this one. Yeah, that's cool. I like that one. All right, without skin, download. Great. Okay, just waiting for this to download. Cool. All right, so these are all, this is my model and those are my animations. I'm just gonna pull all of these things into my Unity animation folder. Cool, so the only thing pretty much you have to do is you have to go through these animations, and in animation you set the time or this loop time to checked. So I'm gonna go through all of them. Unfortunately you cannot select multiple and then just apply. Okay, cool, that's my model. That's all fine actually. I don't, as far as I remember, you don't have to change anything after that. So that's cool. So I'm creating a plane here for a second. Change the directional light to kind of a whitish. And then bring in this bot model for a second. Okay. First of all, I'm gonna pull it to my prefabs folder. Okay, and here I'm going to add a animator. Okay, cool. So that's all right. Then next thing I need is a actual animation. So maybe I'm just gonna place it in another folder. It doesn't really matter. You can sort it out. So Animator Controller is the next thing I need. Export controller. So I can open that up by double clicking this controller. This is kind of the basic setup. So the first thing I need is a plant tree, which will be our movement. And then I'm gonna create an empty called jump. And I'm gonna make two transitions, one from the movement to the jump and from the jump to the movement. Then I'm creating two new parameters, a float, which is called vertical, and another float called horizontal. Don't know what the blend is doing here. Blend tree. Alright, it's probably gonna be deleted after I change the things in the blend tree. And the last one is gonna be a bool, which is jump. Talking of jump, I think I forgot to download from Mixamo the jump animation, so let's quickly do that. How does that look? That's a backward jump. Maybe this one, running jump, I'm not sure. Maybe this one, in place. Yeah, seems fine. I'm just gonna take that one. Cool. Okay, also taking the jump into my Unity project. Okay, don't forget to change the time to loop time. Apply. Okay, cool. So I guess this one is the thing I could set up first. So the transition that is basically triggered when the condition of the jump is true and when the jump condition is false, it goes back to movement. So the jump, here I can now set a actual motion for what the jump is going to be. I can just go here and try to find it in my assets. Right, jump, great, that's it. Then I'm going into movement, double clicking, so I see my blend tree. I have to set my blend tree to 2D freeform directional. And then it's really weird. Delete this one. Yes, delete. Here I'm setting a horizontal parameter and a vertical. It's gonna make sense in just a minute. Okay, and then I have to add a couple of motion fields. So one, I think, so for idle, and then for the 4 different directions, that's, yeah. So it's 5 at motion field, yeah. 2, 4, 5. Cool. So in the idle position is going to be x is going to be 0, y is going to be 0. For walking forward, y is going to be 1 and x is going to be 0. For strafing to the side, x is going to be -1. Sorry, strafing left, and y is going to be 0. For strafing right, x is going to be 1 and y is going to be 0. And for backward, we're going to have x 0 and y -1. Okay, cool. Cool. So as you can see, this is theoretically our x and y parameters, and it's basically interpolating between these different motions, right? So now I set them up on this 2D grid, but now I have to assign each of these motion fields an actual motion. So this is the idle. So I was just gonna add the idle. This one was the walking forward. So walking. This one was walking backward. Then we have strafe right. And we have a sorry, this is walking backward. Yep, negative y is backward, positive y is forward, x negative is strafe left, and positive x is right strafe. Okay, so as you can see, each of these animations is triggered differently. You can actually check it out down here as well. I'm just gonna press play. So the person is walking forward when my 2 parameters are close to x0 and y1, right? And going back to 0, 0, it stops and is in an idle position, strafing left, strafing right, and walking backward. Cool. That's pretty much all set. Potentially we have to change a bit these kind of parameters here to just make the animation react quicker and so on and so forth, but that's it for now actually already. Cool. So what else is missing? We of course need to actually make the make a controller for the player, so to say, if that makes any sense. So we will create a player empty. Set that to 0, 0, 0. Or actually, sorry, let's create a capsule 0, 0, 0, because we can use a capsule as its the collider for the player. So I'm gonna turn off that mesh. Actually can remove these 2 components already. Scene, okay, that looks good. And I'm gonna drag my Xbot in here. So yeah, cool. So the capsule is gonna be called player. That's good. And obviously we need also a camera in there, which is sort of representing our camera for the player, right? I'm just gonna have it like this, 3rd person. You can change it to eye level or whatever, that camera, right? That's all fine. Just remember to take away the audio listener, because otherwise it's gonna throw a couple of errors or give warnings that this is not possible to have 2 audio listeners in the scene. Okay, cool. So let's add a script called player controller. I know there are a bunch of tutorials on this, and I'm encouraging you to actually go through them. Let me show you. Probably one of the best ones, I think, is by Brackeys. I hope that's how you actually call this guy. I think it's a first-person movement, and he's using the inbuilt player controller from Unity, but still, yeah, I'm happy. Like, go ahead and go through this if you want, but I just tried to keep this as simple as possible and just quickly write something myself. So let's open up that player controller. Cool, so we need a couple of things here. First of all, we need a public animator called anim. Then we need a private rigid body, as well as a, why is it lagging? What's going on? Public layer mask, as well as a public bool, which is checking if the character is grounded or not. Okay, before I forget, we need a rigid body on our object. Let's go back to Unity, player, rigid body. Okay, back to my script. First things first, I want to cage my rigid body. Okay, great. So I will create a fixed update, and I will create a couple of different functions in here. First one is going to be grounded, and then we will have a jump as well as a move. Okay, let's first create the jump function. What we're doing here is basically if input dot get key down key code dot space and this dot grounded, then this rigid body dot add force vector 3 dot up times 4. These are a couple of settings I tried around with for some time, so change them to your liking. Force mode, I'm setting the force mode to impulse. Okay, so this is my jump. Else, okay, no, I actually don't need an else. That's all it. Okay, cool. Next one is going to check for if the player is grounded and if it's actually able to jump. So grounded. If physics dot check sphere, so I'm creating a check sphere. I think Brackeys does that as well in his tutorial. Transform dot position plus vector 3 dot down. So basically I'm creating a sphere and a invisible sphere which is trying to collide with objects, and this is going to be placed basically at the feet of the character, and if there is a collision, it means that the character is grounded or is standing on the ground, and the jump is a jump can be initialized. So if this dot, what? How did I call it? Ground? Grounded. Sorry, grounded equals to, obviously, to true, and else is dot grounded equals to false. Okay, so the layer mask is basically helping me to restrict the things the checksphere is colliding with. So I just wanted to check against the ground. Okay, so potentially we have to obviously create a layer as well for the ground. So okay, so this anim. So here we're setting now the bool in the animation controller, which is called jump, to is dot grounded. Okay. Oops. Cool. So that parameter through the ground check is being sent to the animator controller or animation controller. Okay. Cool. So actually, last thing, move. So private void move. Nope, that was not intended. Okay. So first of all, we need a vertical axis equals to input dot get axis vertical. This is basically mapped to W and A. Float, I can show you in a second. Horizontal axis equals to input dot get axis horizontal. Then we are creating a vector which is called movement equals to this dot transform dot forward times vertical axis plus this dot transform dot right times horizontal axis. Horizontal and vertical, these inputs can also be negative, so it's fine to just take one direction forward and right. So I also want to normalize it because I don't want to restrict the character from moving faster, so to say, when it's walking sideways or diagonally. And then I just gonna transform dot position plus equal to movement times 0.04. That's also a value I figured out in combination with the actual animation I downloaded, so you might want to tweak it. So then this dot anim, I have to set the float as well, the two parameters we set in the animation controller. So vertical is going obviously the vertical axis, and set float horizontal, comma horizontal, oops, horizontal axis. Okay, great. That's pretty much it for this part. Yep, seems all right. Cool. I go back. First of all, we can drag the Xbot into the player animation controller. Okay, the layer mask. Okay, we have to create a layer which is going to be ground. I have to assign it to the ground. Cool. And here I can set this layer mask now to ground. Cool. All right. So we're almost there. We have to obviously also pull the player into this controller here. No, we don't have to do that. Okay, so that's cool. In our Xbot prefab, we are missing the controller, which you have to pull in. Okay. So okay, let's just maybe just quickly test it. If this is fine so far. Okay, something is happening. It's for sure jumping. Not sure why that is, but let's see. Okay, So a couple of things happened here. First of all, in the rigid body we have to constrain this guy here so it doesn't fall over. I want to show you also the project settings. In the input manager you can see that horizontal and vertical are mapped to different inputs already. So for example, the left and right key, or A and D, are mapped to horizontal movement, and the vertical is up and down, and S and W. Okay, cool. So let's try this for a second. Okay, something is working, but the S somehow is mapped or whatever to the jumping motion. Let me check. So in the settings, I'm changing this to has exit time. That should be good. Let me try. Somehow it's jumping. Have I changed, or have I misplaced one of the actions? Idle, walking, left. No, that's all good. So if jump is true, it's going to the jump. If jump is false, that should be good for jump. Okay, maybe I did something wrong here. Grounded. Ah, okay, of course, we have to change. This is not possible. So if there is a collision, right, grounded is getting turned into true. But I don't want that also to be the signal to actually jump, so it should be the other way around, right? If it's grounded, like don't jump, and yeah, I think that's better. Let's try. Okay, trying to hit the. Okay, that seems fine now. All right. Cool. So it looks like it's fine so far, right? I can actually walk, but I cannot turn around or do anything. So the last thing we have to do is to create a little camera script. So I'm gonna use a script which is called Camera Controller. Okay, so first things first, I need a player controller in here. Player. Then I need a private float sensitivity, as well as a private float clamp angle. It's gonna be 85 degree. Then a vertical rotation, as well as a horizontal rotation. I need my start, and here I'm gonna initialize the rotation to this.transform.local Euler angles x, and this dot horizontal rotation equals to transform.local Euler angles dot y. Alright, so then I need a update, which I will call a look function, as well as, just for the sake of visualizing this, draw array and this dot transform. Oops. Dot position, comma, this dot transform dot forward times 2 and a color dot red. Okay, so the only thing I have to create is the look function. Private void look float mouse vertical equals to negative input dot get axis mouse y, and then mouse horizontal equals to input dot get axis mouse x. So I'll add that to the vertical rotation. Vertical times sensitivity times time dot delta time. And the same thing for the horizontal rotation, mouse horizontal times sensitivity times time dot delta time. Then the vertical rotation is getting clamped, so it cannot exceed a specific rotation. Vertical rotation, comma, negative is dot clamp angle and clamp angle. Sorry, just to be clean here, as well as here actually. Cool. So transform is dot transform dot local rotation equals to quaternion dot Euler dot vertical rotation comma 0 f comma 0 f, and this dot player dot transform dot rotation equals to quaternion dot Euler 0 f comma is dot horizontal rotation comma 0 f. Okay, that's pretty standard, and that should be good to go. All right. So the last thing you have to do is to reference the right things. So we need a player in this camera here. Okay, cool. Go back to the scene. All right. Let's hit play. So cool. So this is our player and our camera. Sensitivity is a bit too much for my understanding. Maybe it makes sense to make that actually public. Just gonna change that to 200 or something. Probably not enough now, but anyway. Yeah, it's fine. Okay, so our character, we can rotate our character. Of course, if it's standing on one spot, nothing is really happening, but you have now the tools pretty much to download another animation from Mixamo and add it to your animator. How to actually move around, for example, but it's fine for now. So our character is walking around. I can strafe right, I can strafe left, I can walk backward, and even sideways, so to say, diagonally backward. Yeah, that's all cool. All right. That's pretty much that. Hope that is simple enough and straightforward enough. Thank you for watching. See you next time.